Welcome to Doctor Who, Series 1, Episode 8, Father's Day. A happy-go-lucky time episode about the meaning of Christmas and all that good. Actually, you know what? To be fair, the Christmas specials, especially the Russell T Davies ones, are often kind of downers, you know? Like, they end well, but it's a weird Christmas when for most of it, like, a third of the population is standing on the edge of a rooftop, you know? It's just not very Christmassy. But yeah, no, as usual today, I am joined by my brother Caden.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Do you want to be in the thumbnails, but like as the companion? You can wear like Ruby's cute dress and stuff like that.
Oh, that sounds like the most beautiful idea I've ever heard.
It does. I don't think you fit though. It's the problem. Like you can be on my little shoulder there. Hang on. I've just realized. Did I? Oh, I've still got the. Oh, wow. No, I've just failed completely here. I've got the wrong thumbnail. I've got the thumbnail instead of the instructions. Hang on, let me fix that. And the transparent thumbnail is for the previous episode. So hang on. There's the instructions. Whoops. I'm doing Star Trek again, so I'm used to having the other thumbnail. Sorry, I'm allergic to the previous episode. I took some Zyrtex before, a non-branded Zyrtex before the last recording. Yeah, today, if you don't know what we're doing, this is a bad first stream, clearly, but we are basically going to be recording an audio commentary track live, is basically what we're doing. This is bring your own video. We will have a few little tools to help you sync up, like this time bar that is somehow gotten misaligned. But yes, this is actually quite unfortunate for Doctor Who, because there are two versions of Doctor Who that exist, the original UK transmission and the original, well, quote-unquote, original US transmission, what we use for all of our Region 1 DVDs for, you just trust me, just reasons, just trust me on that one. If you're watching live, we're going to be watching the US version, but at the end of the season, I'm going to upload just the backlog. I'm going to speed them all up to match the UK version and upload those somewhere. There'll be a link to that in the description. The description will tell you which one you're watching. The title of the UK ones will probably say UK Speed or something. I don't know. I haven't done it yet. This will be better in Season 2. But while everyone gets all that stuff sorted out, we can ramble a little bit. I meant to tell you how I got flowers yesterday, Caden, but I told you about that before the stream. I guess Father's Day, then. I've said a lot before. This is, it's not a happy-go-lucky meaning a Christmas episode. That was a lie at the start. That was blatant misinformation. But it's a sad one. It's, one of those, I've tried to do something stealthy, and now I failed. It's one of those sad ones. It's an emotional one. It's a good one, but it's going to be weird to do a commentary on. There'll probably be a lot of scenes, you know, like when there's a good scene, I usually let it play. There'll be a lot of those. We'll probably just kind of sit and let it play, both for Caden's sake, who is rewatching it, but it's been a good long while. You don't remember this episode. I mean, it'll probably come back to you as we start, but... yeah, if for some reason you're watching this episode for the first time along with us, that's fascinating. That's a fascinating decision. But yeah, there's a warning, especially if you've lost a father. Where this is an episode where we meet Rose's dad, who, as you might remember, died when Rose was a kid. That's the episode. That's the start of the episode. Let's meet Rose's dad. Father's Day is a good title. A lot of meanings in it. Anything you want to say, Kate? I mean, I've said is I just hijack that. This is for me one of the top of the season, maybe even the top, but it's annoyingly one no one talks about. The only time people talk about it is when someone mentions, "Why does no one talk about this episode? It's really good." Not to prime your...
No, yeah, I'm actually very excited because since just about we started, this episode has been mentioned as being a good one and definitely a gut punch, and I love a good gut punch. So,
oh yeah, I mean they're always
excited.
the best. They're always the best. I need to get you into Star Trek, which also has a heavily gut punch episode about a dead father. it is genuinely, I've called it the greatest piece of standalone science fiction I've ever seen. Which, I mean, it's probably not. There's probably standalone science fiction I just haven't encountered. But, like, if you are one of the Star Trek audience, this episode is very similar in a lot of ways to The Visitor. That's an episode of Star Trek where one time when I watched it, like the second time I think, so I knew what was going to happen. It's got a unique soundtrack that kind of starts, and it's the opening where the like soundtrack plays. It's kind of slow and sad, and it starts panning over the scene. And then this music started playing. I started crying, and then 45 minutes later, the episode ended. And then maybe like 5-10 minutes later, I stopped crying, and that was the episode. It's a wonderful, it's a good one.
Jolly time.
It's a good one, yeah. That's what I want from my light entertainment. Yeah. This is not that. I think The Visitor's sad. I'm weird. Okay, actually, this is something we discussed because this is the first sad time episode I've watched. I am autistic. A lot of people probably won't know that, especially if you're on the Doctor Who fan base. I don't think I've mentioned it. Which means I genuinely generally have kind of two reactions to these sad episodes. It's probably the one you would expect. It's a sad episode. It's sad. There's crying. There's, sad times are had. Or it's sad, and so my brain cannot handle the sadness and emotionally shuts down, and I won't have emotions for the rest of it, which is quite frankly very annoying when you're trying to enjoy a sad episode. But I mean, that won't affect the review, but I might appear to not be particularly emotional about the sad things that happen. That is why. But hopefully this is a good one. At the very least, I can still comment on it, and we can talk about how brilliantly written this episode is. It's too late. I wish I should have brought like a bad episode on. Should have just randomly put like Kill the Moon on, or the Asylum of the Daleks that you quit on. You wouldn't notice it suddenly in HD, and there's a new Doctor and companion, and the TARDIS interior is different. Yeah, no, it's just the same, All right, I think we are at the point now. We've rambled for far too long, as always. That's what my watch says. So we will do the countdown. We are going to do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Slower than that. And on go, we are all going to hit play. I've also just realized when I talk fast like that and give the explanation, there's a subset of the audience who is going to be listening to it 4% faster, because that's the easiest way to sync it up, is to just speed up the whole video. And that's fine. Like, the reason it's slowed down 4% in America is because you won't notice. Like, unless someone really points it out, or you do like side by side, you won't notice. But that's gonna be even faster for our UK audience. Yeah. Whoops. But hey, they're watching a video, so they can just pause and go back. The live stream just gotta get it right the first time. Okay, quick drink as always. I did like a 2-hour stream yesterday for Discovery. So, no drink. And I started with, so I think this will be a short one.
No, you never want to start with
that's
that.
That's the difference of, well, you see, when I did season 4, I don't think I really had an audience. When I did the last episode, I think there were 4 people in chat, and so that that'll always extend the runtime. Okay. I'm also, this episode's, I think, got a little bit of a speech at the start when I was setting up the audio, so I'm probably just going to let that one play so we get the setup. Where is a clock? I was looking at these numbers to sync my countdown, but it's paused, so they're not gonna move. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. It only took 10 minutes. Look at baby Rose. Wait, did she say 1954?
I don't know.
just gonna put a downer. It's a little too cheery about that.
Yeah,
I realized something I've never realized in that epilogue, though. She didn't say the day that, like, so-and-so had their wedding. She said they got married. They actually got married on this wedding. So we're gonna see, of course, these events. But that means that, like, one of the wedding guests literally died, essentially at the wedding, before the ceremony, and they still decided to go through with it. They're like, do you know how much a wedding costs back in 1987?
what
I
they would have
don't.
wanted.
It's what he would have wanted. Good luck. Yeah. Do you think Jackie stayed at the wedding? It was like, yeah, all right. They let the cab driver
I'll
go
deal
instead.
with this later.
Close enough. Most people do. Well, who die in accidents.
Till death us do part.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
I also don't like "Till Death Us Do Part" because I know what it means, but it always sounds like, okay, now let's separate until we die, and then we'll be together again. Like, surely that's what it means if you just look at the words.
Yeah.
So,
Us do and do us.
notice
I don't like when they flip it.
we didn't have that part in my wedding. 'Cause I don't like it.
We had quite a different speech.
Yeah, it was Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just like how it's clearly overcast and gray, but it's just like an ordinary day. Because they're in London. I used to live in Seattle, don't get me wrong. I know, I understand, but it is kind of overcast. So what I like about this episode, I complain a lot in these watch-alongs. They take like a little too long, especially TOS, to get going. Bam, 5 minutes. We finally got just those 3 words. Like, can I try again? 4 words, however many. You kind of realize, oh. When you look at it from that angle, it's kind of funny that, like, he doesn't change where he parks at all. I don't know if I'd park at two people just staring at me at the side of the road. I guess it's a wedding. Like, maybe they're for the event. I always wonder what's going through the head of the first doctor there, where he's like, oh shit, I'm about to make a mistake in another timeline. Is it now? He's not my boyfriend anymore. Well, yeah. You just broke the #1 rule. Which, by the way, fantastic to have this in the first season, because you really need to establish why you can't just go back and, like, change things, which is what this episode is doing. But when Classic Who does this, it's, like, just kind of another episode. For this one, it's a gut punch. I don't know what Digcot is, but it sounds... And they're flat in 2005. That's impressive, actually. Hey, remember that quote. Time to meet Martha Jones.
I like that scene. I like how much he was saying before he spoke, and you could feel it.
What, just, yeah, with his... Oh, Christopher Eccleston's great at that. Wonder if that's why his audio dramas, they're good, but there's still something, they're little bog standard. I wonder if that's a part of it, because you obviously don't get to see him and the kind of acting with him being there. There's also there's a lot in these early scenes I'll get into later, for reasons that will become apparent. But yeah, I want to point out for all the people who are like, oh, why don't the Ravengers ever show up in the future? Well, there's like maybe one time in the future there's two of them in the same place, which makes it a vulnerable point in time. Like, it's not just the paradox, it's that it was vulnerable, and there's a paradox. I'll fight this the rest of the series before. Well, the line, "You're not the most important man in my life." That's why she's stuck with someone like Mickey. That's not just because it was her dad, that's how she treats everyone. Here's the wedding they decided to happen, even though, like, someone died. To be fair, maybe Jackie didn't just call them, because he died on the way home, apparently. Actually, no, he died, like, somewhere else, just on the way to the wedding. Jackie just probably didn't even know he died. She was like, why the heck is he late? You know, I'd love a gag where they go back to the 60s where they actually had police boxes, and then when they go to the TARDIS, they find like some criminal handcuffed to the door handle because a cop thought it was a police box, but he couldn't get in.
That would be really funny.
I hate when you go to the wrong box. The rules, so never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. Come here, comment. See, I like that we're getting in this episode now that like maybe Rose, what like Jackie told Rose about her dad isn't necessarily, you know, exactly what was going on. Sorry, mate, wrong number.
So I hate when that happens to me.
Yeah. Hopefully he's closer to where he was going. Sorry, mate, wrong number. So wait, did his son get like someone pregnant? They're now getting married and he's encouraging him to not do that? I'd like to know more what his dad wants his son to do. Look at baby Rose. I call everyone Dad. Even Rose is judging Rose. It's like, I'm gonna be that? God, I love this episode. Maybe we're just gonna let every scene play. I'm sure there's a bit in the middle we'll get to, but I'm not even sure what to say in addition to these scenes. Like, I love as well, it's a little thing that's never really directly brought up, but like, yeah, Pete was almost in a car accident, and everyone's kind of casually like, oh, you know, like, oh, don't be, I would have, like, got out of the way, or, like, it was almost the death of you, and we know how much it would affect Jackie, like, if he actually died, and that he would have, and I always think it just makes you think of the real-world scenarios, if, like, you have a near miss in the accident, or you just think about, like, the people who are important to you now, and also alive now, and that, like, that could just stop at any time. That kid is scarred for life.
So it's less of a problem when Rose meets Baby Rose?
They'll get to that.
Okay.
They can look at each other. I turned my TV off last night. I was up late. Alex was in bed. And it also turned an old TV on in the kitchen, I think, at the same time, like the remote interference. And so it was just like a dead buzz and a lot of like static hum. Spookiest thing I've ever seen. I'm still on edge. I was like, well, that's what Mickey's going through. Because it's never happened before. But like the TV was on. There's no baby in that baby carriage. Rose has done a runner. Oh, well, now they can't have the wedding. I thought they might still go through with it, but not if, like, the priest dies.
I'll bet you the doctor's officiated.
Like, if your dad dies, that one thing, he was probably going to object when given the chance, but...
I like that a little bit.
Oh yeah, he's over it. Sorry, mate, wrong number. I don't know, it seems like natural causes. It was Rick Astley. It was earlier in the video. They just really didn't like that.
They heard it on the other side of the universe.
From the time vortex, they're like, not again. He's so well dressed. I wonder if he was like also on the way to the wedding. I've always found it a little interesting. Well, no, because they didn't know who the driver was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they just had an extra suit. I don't know.
I almost made fun of him for that. I should have.
He's clever, writer. He's working it out. I love Billy Tyler's acting there as well. You can just see the whole time how much she wants to tell him, but like, she knows she can't, and he's working it out himself. And I love how clever Pete is. He's a clever feller. Whoops. Sorry about that. See, I think a lot of people remember. For me, it's the 11th Doctor. I've never met anyone who wasn't important, but no, it started. It started way back at 9 and 10. Comes up a lot, and I love it. Well, that's what I thought, of course. – 2005. Just a bit. That was the problem. In a suit. Yeah. I love the line. I remember the line, but it still gets me. Like,
there's a lot of little moments in this that I find really funny.
Oh god, it's a masterpiece. This is why it's, I think, my favorite of the season. It's a top of the series. So normally Rose could meet herself, but not really now. It do bother me though. They are in a church that's really echoey. I wonder what the other people think when they just hear stuff like that. Like, don't touch the baby. This is why it's not in the classics. And then he pulls back the rug and is like, this was all, these are actors. That's not really your dad. You learned your lesson. But no, I like how this is, I think this is the, like, gravest things have gone, especially with how slow, and everyone's very affected by this in, like, real ways, like the bride and groom, the dad, Jackie. And it's a great, this is why we can't just go back and fix things when someone dies in an episode. Which is ultimately the purpose of this episode.
Put the jacket back on.
No, do you want to see him with a turtleneck? I'll show a turtleneck before this or after this. Cause you'll know, but before then, when you don't know what's wrong, you see the image, you're like, something about this just isn't right. Cause it's like a costume test, and then you realize he's got a massive turtleneck. I hope there's an episode where he reverses time by just going around the Earth in the TARDIS, and they reference Superman. like, but like it kind of makes sense because it's the TARDIS, you know. You should see 2005. He looks so much like a younger version of your dad. Like, just the look, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like everyone's dad from 40 years ago. And you see it in his face from the first words as well, when she's like, he read a story every day. God. Teary eyes. There we go. God, I love Russell T Davies. It's like, he would have been a good dad, but Rose is describing kind of a perfect dad she always would have imagined, or that Jackie grandized her husband as. But it's kind of like no one is actually just the perfect dad. No one's there literally every night, never missing a single story. He just, like, the fact as well that he knows it. He's like, I know I wouldn't be that. Like, I don't think he thinks he'd be a bad dad, but he's like, I know I wouldn't be that. That's convenient. Just realized that Jackie looking back at them was the setup for her getting up and walking over that we didn't see.
Oh, that's really funny, though. The immediate thought was that he had her years ago.
Well, yeah. Like, would you assume it was time travel?
Yeah, it's just so funny.
Like, the only reason it's okay for Pete to come to that conclusion is how crazy, like, that everything is going on. And also that he almost doesn't even really seem to believe it. He's kind of like, this is the only thing that makes sense, but it doesn't. But nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
And no David Tennant. So I just had the moment. Could you imagine if they revived Doctor Who and then it just ended after eight episodes after the world ended and they murdered the Doctor? It kind of kills the tone, but... This guy's really good at, like, his characters working out and realizing things, but he's not saying anything. The facial acting and stuff is top tier here. But it's usually difficult for me to pick up on that. I got 2 tissue boxes on my desk and both of them are empty. I want to know what the actors in the actual audio commentary track do for this episode. All right. There is exactly one tissue left in one of the boxes. The other is full of all the used tissues I was sick a little bit ago. Do you agree that
Yeah.
yeah. Why don't people talk about this one more? It's so good.
That's like, yeah. That was top of the season.
I mean, season 1, we've said a lot of times, it is a solid season. It's probably the most consistently solid season. It has got a few top tier. You know, it's got Dalek, it's got the Gas Mask Child. We'll do that next week. But God, this should be like a top 10 Doctor Who episodes, and it just never it never comes up. I don't know what I could add.
Yeah, that through and through, everything about that was so good, and it even just like the broad strokes of the episode, but then there were so many little things that consistently were just perfect, and all the interactions and all the characters. That was a darn tootin' good episode.
Every scene we were quiet for because we just wanted to let it run. We were trying to find like gaps between the conversation, except there was some was just the Doctor and Rose talking that I tried to interject, because I'm just like, I can fit something in here. This is just a brief explanation. But even those are good, you know, like...
Yeah, those are...
I don't recall as I said, you pointed out, I pointed out, the non-vocal acting here. The guy that plays Pete Tyler is fantastic. I don't remember the last time I saw this episode. I mean, I probably like sometime during 13's era, so in the past few years, I probably did a rewatch. It's the kind of episode that makes me want to go upstairs to my wife and be like, Alex, let's watch some Doctor Who, because you're on the first Doctor now, and God, I want to watch some of these new episodes with you. I had to fight against my body's want to shut down a few times, but I think I'm gonna stand by that. For me, that is the best one of the series. Dalek's good. No, Dalek's great. Dalek handles the Daleks great, but it was every scene in this. Literally every piece of dialogue, every scene was perfect. And like Dalek, I don't know, there's some bits at the museum that are just, you know, the cold open that just has to be there. Like, that's the level of, you know, discussion we have to do in comparing. But I think this is also the only super sad one to like I guess if you count when Rose leaves, but I was thinking Family of Blood in like season 3, but fair enough, I'll count the season 2 finale. This is I'm trying to think, this is probably the biggest gut punch, like, sad episode, also the best one that Doctor Who will throw at you, because when it does sad before, like, there's a famous 2-parter, Family of Blood, and I don't remember the other name, but that's sad, but it's mostly like the ending that's sad. Again, when Rose leaves, it's just the ending. But this one, just because you know what happens, the way people react, just casually, as a lot of people would, where it's like, you know, they're angry, you almost died, like, you know, maybe then I would have gotten rid of you, and it's like, no, because we know, like, that he would have died and how that would have affected Jackie. And apparently she grandizes him as like the greatest man who ever lived. You know, he's some massive inventor. He's got so many clever ideas that were actually just a shitty junk that gathered in their house. And just as well as again, I want to point out the mechanical purpose of this episode is to establish why you can't just go back and fix things. Because every time, that is the point. And they didn't just have an episode like that. They decided to make it a massive character-driven gut punch because it's Russell T Davies. Yeah. Like, just, just to look at how characters would actually deal with this situation. Like, of course, Rose being fed these stories imagines, like, the most perfect father ever. The father actually learning this is, like, the moment when you look at his face, if you watch that scene where Rose is like, you read me a bedtime story every night. You just see in his face, he goes, no. Like, he came here to test because he already suspects. He basically knows. He just doesn't want to accept it. And from the first words, he's like, I wouldn't. I would try and be a good dad. I probably would be a good dad, as far as dads go, but that's no dad.
Yeah.
I'm getting started again.
It's
I told you. I even said off camera one of the streams. I was like, hey, this next one is actually like, you'll probably cry. Like, it's a sad one. Do you want to do it live? Like, I can do it on my own if you want. But next week, we've got a two-parter. We got the gas mask child one, the empty child, the Dr. Dances. Just so we can get season 1 wrapping up in time for season 1/14/40. I just realized, yes, I want season 1 to wrap up before season 1 with Shooty Gadwa. We're going to do that in one day. We're just going to do them back to back. Same for episodes 12 and 13, the finale. So yeah, only 3 weeks, I guess 4 weeks till Shooty Gadwa, which I think you've decided you are joining me for, correct?
Yeah, for as many
Not
times as I can.
to put you on the spot.
Yeah, for as many times as I can.
We won't be doing watch-alongs. We will be doing the same thing I do for Star Trek, where I will watch the episode like an hour before the stream. You can probably do it whenever. But then we'll come together and talk about it. We can be a lot more open because, they're sort of going for blank slate. This is season 1. You can start here. I'm sure there'll be callbacks and stuff. I mean, Unit's, going to be in the season. I know Mel's going to be in the season. There's probably some stuff from the specials. I'm dancing around spoilers that I also don't really know. But some stuff in the trailers that I've heard about, I haven't seen, is like, there might be some things I have to tell you in the specials, but it's a good point, and the best part is we can both theorize about stuff. And I think it's fun for you because I've seen other podcasts type things with this format, where of course I know I have the numbers gone up again. Give me a moment. Doctor Who audio dramas, properties. 565 files under my Big Finish audio drama folder.
Yikes.
So maybe a few of those are like pictures of the thumbnail, but most of them are zipped. So that's just going to be sometimes even multiple stories, actually. It probably balances out to about 600. Actually, let me just go to Big Finish. What am I on now? I'm on Doom Coalition. And the first tab is the Second Doctor Adventures. I do need to pick that one up. Okay, I have 445 available downloads from Big Finish. But that's going to include some, like, box sets where they have multiple stories in one set, I think. Yeah, I'm the fan. But you're a fan. But, like, in the more casual sense, you watch the show, you enjoy it. You've seen the normie episodes. You're like you're like most people who watched 10, 11. They probably watched 9, and then they kind of they gave up somewhere around Clara. Yeah, it's very normie. But now you're coming back because like David Tennant was there, and it's on Disney, and like New Doctor looks sexy, and all that good stuff. And of course, I'll bring up classics if it's like, hey, this guy was in the classics, and I think that's probably fun for you, right? And that you can turn and be like, hey, who is River Song? I don't know. Yeah. What's a good
Wink and a nudge?
Wink and a nudge. Who's River Song? My wife has a theory that River Song is the mother of the new companion, which is they're never gonna let me live that down if they're right because it doesn't really make any sense. They're really desperate here. But they even asked me the other day, like, hey, like, did you bring up to the stream that I think River Song is, like, Ruby's mother? And I'm like, no, you did. You came down on a stream and did it. And they were like, yeah, we'll bring it up again. So they're never going to let me down if Ruby's so. That
would be the
River
funniest
Song.
thing
Well,
ever.
the funny thing is, right, River Song, River Song, you remember River Song, right? Like,
yeah, vaguely.
River Song, her actress, Alex Kingston, came out a little bit ago. They're a lesbian. No, it came out. Dang it! Sometimes I make these jokes and I forget what the original point was. That they have some massive Doctor Who secret. And this was the same time that Big Finish canceled her audio drama range. She had like 13 releases. I've listened to them. Good. But they were very adamant right away. They're like, we're still going to do more stuff with her. Like, we're just finishing her range. And so we were like, either the fan base was kind of like, so one of two things is kind of the fun theories, is either she's coming back to the show with 15, which I think would undermine her final episode, but 15 and River that's just fun. Like, I understand the draw. Or Matt Smith was coming to Big Finish and they're going to do stuff with the 11th Doctor and River. Big Finish recently announced a new line with River. It's kind of weird that they ended her current line. They just replaced it with another one, it seems. But it opened some doors. It is interesting. It doesn't really feel massive, Doctor Who's secret. Maybe that's not what she meant. I think that might be what she meant. You know, maybe she was just hyping it up. Mm-hmm. Actually, does she have something with Christopher Eccleston? Alex Kingston. She might have done something with Christopher Eccleston, but maybe I'm thinking of the Bernice Summerfield thing. Oh no, that's probably the massive secret. Is coming up in May. There's an audio drama with the Ninth Doctor and River Song. Yeah, it's called Starcross. Those are good. I know I kind of badmouth them a little bit. The Ninth Doctor audio dramas are good. Some better than others, but there have been some really good ones in there. I think the main problem for me, because I think people should go buy them, is it's after the Time War, but it's before he meets Rose. And so it's always felt a little weird to me, is he doesn't feel like he has a lot of that trauma that he does at the start of the series, that he's working through it. Like, it is there. They bring up a few times, at a few points, people are like, he's like, I can't do a companion right now. I'm not ready. And they bring up the trauma from the war, but you don't feel it as much, which I understand, because you don't want to do, like, probably, a release every few months for the next until he dies, plus 10 years. That's not a joke, but like where he's just traumatized by the Time War. But it's kind of for me personally, and I never liked the idea that he went on I always liked the idea that the Ninth Doctor's fresh off the Time War, or very fresh when he meets Rose. Yeah. So it just feels a little weird that, like, especially because his only time on the show is like Time War trauma. He kind of just gets past that till he can be the Doctor again, and then he explodes into David Tennant. So it's weird hearing him not in part of that arc. But don't get me wrong, they're good. You got Alpha Centauri in some of them. Look at that big. You remember the big green lady? If I recall correctly, Alpha Centauri.
Yeah.
Who looked kind of like a phallic. Fun fact, Doctor Who, these live streams have had a 50% rate of being limited monetization. I don't know why. I've never struggled so much with these things. Oh, hello, when I had chat closed, Johannes Stewart Marwardy, who says, period, etc. And then a different
about
message,
how I felt
period,
when the
and
ended.
Yeah. That's just the punctuation mark, by the way. They're not spelling period. But of course, as promised, Caden, not Dictor, Doctor, you did remember who, Christopher Eccleston, costume test. One of the audio dramas, he has a turtleneck, actually. It wasn't that one. I think it's that one, but it was probably a better view. I know the stream can't see this, but tough. Just Google turtleneck. It is that one. Can I get a better one?
No, it's such a different...
There we go. This
vibe.
picture.
Nah.
You look at it, and you're like, something's a bit off here. And you stare at it for like 5 minutes, and you go, hang on. He's got a massive turtleneck, because it's the same costume, same color jumper. Like, if this was his actual outfit, it would probably look weird in the other one. But it's just...
It's the wrong vibe.
It's not right, because he always wears
right.
exactly the same thing, just a different color. I've been surprised, because I'm changing the color of the jumper in the thumbnail for all of these releases. I think he's worn 3 shirts. He only has 4 color shirts. It was 4 or 5 that I've got prepared. But where do I keep my thumbnails? Here we go. Star Trek, for some reason. He started in red, right? We had 2 episodes in red. Then he had blue, because he mentioned in the script. I changed my jumper for 1, 2, 3, and then he actually had green, but no, he did have for 4. One of them was a 2-parter, though, so 3 episodes. I'm noticing a trend. 3 stories, either. Then green for 1, 2, 3, this current one. And there's Spock. I don't know what he has for next episode. What is it? Hang on.
How exciting.
Whoops, I've minimized all my tabs. I know, it's a little bit of excitement. Do I have to apply a different filter to the thumbnail? Because I pre-made all the jumpers just to make sure I could do it and I wouldn't have to stress out last minute. Hang on. Entertainment, media, Doctor Who, middle, series 1, empty child. All right, there we go. What's he wearing? That's not him. That's not him. That's not him. Oh, yeah, we get Jack next episode. That's dark. Come on, Doctor. What are you wearing? I usually actually just, like, Google it. Doctor... Oh, I'm probably gonna get the gas mask kid. Empty child. Yeah, I get a bunch of photos of the gas mask kid, because that's the name of the villain. Ah! We do change. He's in purple. It's every 3 stories. And then, I don't know when he regenerates. Doctor Who, 9th Doctor, regeneration. Is he in this one till the end of the story? Because that would be 3 stories. It's dark blue, black. I don't know if you... I mean, there aren't spoilers here. It's just him regenerating. There's David Tennant. Actually, you know what would be better? 10th Doctor in 9th Doctor's clothes. You always love seeing David Tennant in the previous Doctor's clothes. I'm glad they always do that every single time that it happens. He's in black. I don't have black prepared. This is definitely a leak photo. The one where he's, like, leaning, like, ooh. It's original look, 2006 hot leaks, fresh off the press. He does look kind of dumb in that photo. Oh yeah, remember when I said they want to do stories with Christopher Eccleston for like every few months until he dies plus 10 years? Mm-hmm. Tom Baker, the 4th Doctor, who's in his 90s, he's not long for this world. You know, he's just in his upper 90s. He's just old. Apparently, they record with him, like basically once every 2 weeks. They call him up. He's like, hey, you good for a session? And they have his stories recorded currently through, I think, the next 7 years. It's either the next 7 years or 2027. I'm pretty sure it's the next 7 years, which is really weird because it's like he's gonna die one day, and then it's like, all right, guess we got 7 years of more story. Like, how weird is it gonna be? I'm really behind. I've listened to, I think, Volume 1 of 4th Doctor. I want to get into it. It's just the sales keep getting other things. Because I love 4th Doctor audios. The 4th Doctor's fine in TV, but I never really praise him as highly as most. But 4th Doctor audio is often how people describe the 4th Doctor, and I get it. And I love him there. But that's going to be weird. I think I saw some Redditor talk, because Tom Baker's a very eccentric fellow. You know the Doctor? Imagine that. That's what Tom Baker is. Not this Doctor, 9, but maybe more like 10, or you know how 11 was goofy. Tom Baker famously played the Doctor just like himself. He didn't even act.
That's funny.
He just said Doctor.
Beautiful. I love that.
But you'd probably like a lot of Baker, actually. But you know Douglas Adams? He was the script editor for a season of Doctor Who. He wrote 3 stories.
I don't know if I know Douglas Adams.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, Douglas Adams, yeah.
Yeah, he wrote some Doctor Who episodes.
Weird.
One of them is often highlighted as the best. It's great. I love his stories, though. But anyway, someone pointed out, I saw that it would be very Tom, that because everyone knows what they're doing. Like, everyone knows Tom Baker's old. They want as many stories as possible before he dies, because it's just nice to have the original voice actor. God knows how you'll replace Tom Baker. There's like one guy who sounds exactly like him, and he's the only one in the world who can do it, but he's also old. Seriously though, I don't know who it is, but Google like Tom Baker impression. It's I don't know, you'll find one. But anyway, that they would record, like the idea that they've already recorded his last one, because they know it's going to be one of these recording, and so they maybe recorded that early, and it's like, this is the final Tom Baker Fourth Doctor adventure. That would be really cool to have, like a proper send-off, where, because he's given his life to Doctor Who, basically. It's such a huge part of his life, and he loves the character so much. And then for the special features of that episode, because they know it's the last, like they might have recorded it 5 years ago, but they know they'll release it last, is to have it, they imagine it'll start with Tom Baker going, he's like, and I'm Tom Baker, I'm speaking to you from beyond the grave. Ooh. And I imagine they ask him questions like, so Tom, what's it like being dead? And he's like, oh, well, so far it's been a lot like just being alive, really. Because he hasn't died when they recorded it, and just really lean in, because it's like, that feels like the sort of thing he'd do. Is he wouldn't want people to be sad. He'd want people to be like, and he does the spooky voice, beyond the grave. And then hopefully he hasn't died since the last time I looked, because those jokes might not land as well. No, it's good to have him around. He's an interesting feller. He's just Tom Baker. It's hard to describe him. He just is. But when I'll make sure to put on the Reddit. I'm gonna ask Reddit for like the worst effects in Doctor Who, but they're actually like nice to watch episodes. And then we'll get you over. I'll try and get a fourth Doctor. There's the one where they ran out of budget. I've told you before, right? Where Doctor Who has its budget like below the floor. But its budget is set at the start of the year. Yeah. And we saw some posters, actually, no third term for Thatcher in this episode, because it was in the 80s. But I'm pretty sure it was Thatcher. Basically, the UK economy was going through a thing at the time. And there was like a massive economic crisis that saw the devaluation of the pound, like quite substantially, just over the course of like a few months. Which means that Doctor Who's already shoestring budget was now worth less because they set it in January and the value went down. And so there's an episode, they basically decided, screw it. They moved all of the budget from like one episode to the one before, and then recorded literally everything that was on the alien planet for the season finale on green screen. It's beautiful. It's worse than the sort of green screen I would do back in the day. It's yeah, this is what you'd want.
That's so funny to me.
And, there's always a thing. Doctor Who doesn't have to look good, because it's got good stories. But that doesn't mean that the effects were good. Like, it doesn't have to. But I do think if Doctor Who was consistently producing that, I think you should probably up it a little bit. There's charming, and then there's, even for the time, we had no money, right? Yeah. It's like, even for the Doctor Who standards, we had absolutely no money. Like, we recorded this in my shed on a camera, like a picture camera, where it's got the cloth, and the person goes and they put their head under cloth. They took a lot of pictures. They did like stop motion, basically, in live action stop motion. And yeah, they didn't even tape them together. They just like had someone manually put them in and out of like the recording machine in the 60s, and which honestly would probably cost way more than just recording it. But we need to talk. How long are you in the city for? Because we need to get that thing sorted.
I'm off in July.
All right. And
then I'm busy to the end of June, basically.
I'll wrap up the stream, and we can talk about that more a little bit offline. So I will say thank you all very much for watching. Next week, Gas Mask Child. We got Stephen Moffat, our boy, but only when he's under Russell T. Davies. No, we got Stephen Moffat, Gas Mask Child. That's a good one. I hope you're down for a two-parter. You don't have a busy weekend at all, so that's good. Doing absolutely nothing the days before Sunday. So I will say he is kind of busy. I will say thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.